Hey, it's Red Renault. Are you lacking the inspiration or the motivation to write your own song? Well, in this video I'm going to show you a real quick and effective method of basically throwing 7 of your favorite songs together into a blender to create a completely new piece of music. And we shall call it our very own song cocktail. Let me explain.
There are 7 songs, and from each of those different songs we are going to extract only one ingredient. So for example, for the first song, Shotgun, we are only going to look at the basic rhythm of the song. So that means we will only look at the beats per minute and the time signature. For the second song, Bittersweet Symphony, we are only going to extract the key and whether the song is just basic major or minor, or perhaps it's Dorian or some other mode. And at the end we will put all of those ingredients together. So be sure to stick to the end of the video to hear the end result.
And with all of those explanations out of the way, let's start with the first song ingredient.
I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone.
And just after only a few taps on the metronome, we already know our first ingredient, and it's 114 beats per minute in 4/4. Now let's just quickly put that into our DAW and
Let's move on to the next song. After watching that short clip, you might think that this song is in E major, but there is a catch. Let me explain.
if we look at the Bittersweet Symphony chord progression, the first chord that stands out is the B minor. Because the B chord in the E major scale isn't a minor chord, it's a major chord as you can see here. So if we're not in E major, let's say that we're in D major instead, and that D is our 1 chord. This looks a lot more like the Bittersweet Symphony chord progression, but the only anomaly here is the E minor chord. That means D major is out as well. And it leaves us with only 1 chord we can try, A major. And yes, bingo, we can clearly see that all the 4 chords we need are here. And that means we can say with confidence that we are in A major or E mixolydian. This also means that later on when we're going to create our melody, we'll be dealing with 3 sharps.
Now let's look at the structure of the song.
From simply looking at the lyrics of Better Now, we can clearly see that the song has a chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus structure. So the song has 4 choruses and they are all exactly 16 bars long. The first verse has 24 bars, the second verse has 16 bars and the bridge has 8 bars. But we shouldn't forget that there is also an intro, which is 8 bars long, and an outro of 16 bars, which means 136 is the total amount of bars we are going to have in our song. So now we can already place markers in our DAW with the song structure we've just analyzed. And this means that the 136 bars marker is exactly the point where we can see that our song, that doesn't even exist yet, is exactly 4 minutes and 46 seconds.
Now let's look at the chords.
Now that we know the chords, we can adjust the progression from being 1 bar per chord to 2 bars per chord, and then we've got to transpose E flat, B flat minor again, F minor, a half step up, so that we are actually in E mixolydian. And after that, let's change the second B minor to a B minor with a 3rd in the bass. This technically doesn't change the chord because it is still a triad, but it keeps things just a little bit more interesting.
And after those changes, the chords sound like this. This next part is going to be really cool, because now that we know our chord progression and everything, we still have to decide which instrument is going to play those chords and in which way they will be played.
The 9 Inch Nails song has a synthesizer playing an arpeggiator loop of 4/16 notes. Nothing special there, but as you can see here, there is a gap on the 4th 16th note. So the final note makes this a loop of 5/16 notes, with the 4th 16th being a rest.
When you play this short loop just one time, it sounds like this.
But when we decide to loop this pattern of 5, we can see that our loop constantly starts and stops in weird places, and this gives the loop a very cool, off-putting rhythmic effect, and especially when it's combined with a simple drum loop. Take a listen to this.
Now comes the tricky part. We've got to combine all of those 5 ingredients together.
So far, we took the polyrhythmic arpeggiator from copy of A, we took the chords from clocks, transposed them to the key of Bittersweet Symphony, adjusted the chords to 2 bars per chord from Better Now, and it's all in the tempo of Shotgun.
And that all together sounds like this. It sounds cool, but we're missing something, right? We now need a melody that we can sing on top of this.
In the first 4 bars, there are clearly 2 melodic phrases established. The first one starting here and ending here, and the second one starting here and ending here.
Since the melody is one of the elements that we just cannot copy one-on-one, we will mostly focus on the phrasing of the melody.
These 2 phrases contrast the previous 2 because they mainly start after a rest on the first beat, and there are also a few 16th notes present, which I might change later on because I'd like to keep things a little bit more simple for our future melody. These last 2 phrases also start after a rest on the first beat, and I think they are really useful because they aren't too complicated. So I guess that means we've got our 6th ingredient, melody. The first thing we need to take care of is to adjust the length of the progression to the Post Malone song. So we're going from 12 bars to 8. Then we're removing the lyrics because we are going to do those in the next segment of the video. Remember what I said earlier about 16th notes and some things being too complicated? Well, let's change the phrasing just a little bit more so that the melody becomes more easier to listen to, and most of all, we don't want an exact copy of this melody. Of course, we need to remove the chords. As beautiful as they are, we've got to remove them. Then we've also got to adjust the key and the BPM. What's so useful of this music software that I'm using here is after putting in 3 sharps, when you're moving the notes up and down the stuff, it's automatically an E mixolydian. So we've got the same rhythmic phrasing of this classic Beatles tune with only a few adjustments, and now it's only a question of playing with moving the notes up and down for a while with 3 sharps at the beginning, and then we've got something like this.
And now there is only one element left. To prevent this video from getting way too long, we're not going to look at all of the lyrics. Instead, we'll only look at just 2 elements of the lyrics. The first one being this phrase, which in my opinion summarizes the core theme of the song. Something that you used to have, but you don't have it anymore now. These can be all sorts of things, like for example, a relationship or living in a certain place,
or a physical object like a car, just like the big yellow taxi in the lyrics of Joni Mitchell. Which is a nice segue into the next element. When we look at the title Big Yellow Taxi, we can easily think of something else. For instance, we can change big into the opposite, little, and for yellow we can come up with a completely different color. Why not red? And for taxi we can come up with a car brand. Why not the French car brand Renault, which gives this title a nice alliteration, Little Red Renault. And there we go, we've got two things we can add to our song. Writing the lyrics is something that looks really easy in this short time lapse, but it actually took me quite a while to come up with half decent lyrics. So also for the sake of keeping this video short, I'm not going to dive too deep into that process.
If you're interested in how I write lyrics, however, I can't recommend this book enough. Popular Lyric Writing by Andrea Stolp. It's a very thin little book that you can read just in one day. It's very easy to read and it has a lot of practical tips and tricks that you can just use immediately. And I've used this book to write the lyrics of the song that you're about to hear in just 1 minute. But first, just a few final thoughts. This video was really fun to make. I think the song turned out really well. It's not the best song ever, but it's better than I thought it would be. So that leaves us with the final question. Can you make a song by stealing from 7 other songs? Yes, you can. However, you've got to come up with enough original material yourself in order for it to be somewhat of an original song. So let's listen to the final result now. I'm not going to hold you up any longer. Please let me know what you think of the video. This was such a crazy new experiment for me. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
My little Red Renault took us where we wanted to go. Fragile French machine, was it good enough for me? We only value what we've lost, while we forget the things we got. The first car that I owned was a little red Renault. We drove down to the sun to find ourselves some bliss, because where we were from, that was always gone. But all the things we'd miss were never really gone. For a special one like this is what we had all along. My little red Renault took us where we wanted to go. Fragile French machine, was it good enough for me? We only value what we've lost, while we forget the things we got. The first car that I owned was a Was it good enough for me? We only found you